Hello there. This is the Xiaomi Mi Body Composition Scale 2. This is a smart scale from Xiaomi and it's one of the cheapest smart scales you can buy. I'm going to talk to you about all the features that are included with this device, and I'm going to share with you my honest and unbiased opinion. This channel is all about helping you as a consumer to make a more informed purchase decision. I'm going to drop a link in the description below if you want to check the most recent price, just to make sure that you do get the absolute best price. You might want to check out other sites like eBay and also the Xiaomi official store. Because wherever you buy from, you're going to get the same product at the end of the day. So make sure you shop around and get the best price. You don't get a lot in the box here, to be honest. You have two things, the scales and the leaflet. Looking at the scales from the front, the surface of these scales is made of a thick glass, and then you have these 4 shiny metal circles, which is where you place your feet. There is the Mi logo right in the middle of the scales. The scales themselves are 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters, shaped like a square. The edges of this scale are rounded. It feels quite heavy in your hands. Taking a look at the back of the scale, the body of the scale is made of a smooth white plastic. The 4 feet are also made of plastic and they have a little bit of movement in each foot. Towards the bottom, there is some detailed product information, and here you have the battery compartment. These scales take 4 AAA batteries. With these scales, there was no batteries included, so I had to purchase these separately. In order to use all of the smart features with this smart scale, you do have to have bare feet when jumping on the scale. You can actually use the scale wearing shoes, but you're not going to get all those extra features that are being measured through these metal circles. In fact, the only reading that you'll get if you are wearing shoes or socks is your weight. So keep that in mind, especially if you live somewhere cold. Taking off your shoes and putting them on the cold glass can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. These scales can measure in increments of 50 grams or 0.05 of a kilogram. Whatever you are weighing on these scales, it's going to round it up or down to the nearest 50 gram increment. So if you're weighing something that's actually 35 grams, it's going to show up on these scales as 50 grams. That's fairly accurate. It's more accurate than some other smart scales I've tested that only weigh in increments of 100 grams. But this is still not as accurate as like a kitchen scales or some really high-tech scales that can measure down to the nearest 1 gram. I'd really like to see a smart scale that can measure in 1 gram increments without connecting the app. These scales will only measure in kilograms and not pounds. But once you've connected the app, you can go into the settings and change that to pounds if you want to. Downloading the Mi Fit app is quick and easy. This app does have a lot of good reviews with over 50 million downloads on the Google Play Store. When you download the app, you do of course have to log into an account. Sadly, you cannot use the app or the scale's smart features without logging in. You can, however, sign in using WeChat, Facebook or Google, which is convenient. When you have a look at the terms and conditions and read the privacy policy, you will see that Xiaomi is collecting a lot of your personal data. Your health information, your network information, and even your caller information. To be honest, you probably have a whole bunch of apps on your phone that are already recording all of these things. So most people don't read these privacy policies, to be honest. When I downloaded the app, I was prompted to give the app permission to access my media files and my photos, which I declined. And the app still worked just fine, so keep that in mind. You'll need to enter in your birthday, your gender, and your current weight to start using the app. To pair the device, you'll need to enable location on your phone and then step onto the scales. After you step on the scale and get a weight reading, You'll then see these flashing bars, which means the scales are doing the other body measurements. Once these body measurements are finished, you'll get access to a whole array of different health information. This app, it doesn't mess around and it tells you up front how you can improve. In fact, it blatantly told me that I needed to do more exercise. Probably true, but I think some people might be put off by how in your face some of the comments are. Let's take a look at all the different readings that you do get with these scales. In order to calculate your BMI, these scales will use the data you've input, your age and your height, and take that combined with your weight to calculate your BMI. The scales will measure your body fat percentage and give you a rating along this chart here to show you if you are healthy weight, underweight or overweight. The scales can measure the percentage of water in your body as well as visceral fat. So visceral fat is basically fat that's deep inside your body, like between your organs. It's a very dangerous type of fat, and anything that you can do to reduce visceral fat, so I'm told, is a good thing. So being able to measure that is probably a good start. But it is important to remember that all measurements on these scales are an estimate. These scales can also measure your protein mass. These scales measure your muscle mass as well as the basal metabolic rate. You can also measure your bone mass to see how much bone you've got in your body. You can track this over time and see if your bone is decreasing or increasing. There's two other readings that you get here. One is your body age. This is really interesting because it's going to tell you if you are older than your actual age in terms of your body or younger. So really great to work towards being younger in your body than what your actual age is. You also get a body score at the top of the screen here. This could be handy for tracking your progress over time. You can use the stats page to track your progress, but it looks like only weight and body fat are included on this page. I do have to tell you, there was something that really annoyed me about these scales. They're not that stable. Even though these scales are quite heavy and it's made of glass, I found if I stepped too far towards the top of the scales tipped up and became unbalanced. This didn't just happen to me once. A few times when testing out these scales, I stepped in the wrong spot and nearly knocked over the scales. Because they're made of glass, I think these would break quite easily. If you're using these scales every day, I'm sure you'll work out where you need to step not to tip them over, but I thought honestly that they could be designed a bit better than that. I think as long as you're aware of this and you're careful, hopefully this won't happen to you. Well, that's what you get, folks. I mean, these scales, they're definitely cheaper than a lot of other smart scales you can buy. I found the accuracy on the scale to be quite good, and I like the glossy glass finish. It's very stylish. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video to be helpful. If you did, please help me out by subscribing. If you subscribe, I can guarantee you're going to get more videos just like this one. I'll see you next time.